Everyone, my name is Brandy Walton. I'm from the Communications and Outreach Advisory Council with Unveiled. What is Unveiled? So we are a nonprofit organization dedicated to enabling equitable access through bold conversations, tangible actions, and community-committed transferring systems. We reimagine access and really provide that opportunity and sponsorship. Our goal is to build a world where access to opportunities isn't just reserved for a lucky few. Our fireside chats, which we're excited that you're a part of today, really provide bold spaces where we have real conversations with change makers who are challenging the status quo, leading with purpose, and showing up with possibilities. As you listen, we invite you to join in and engage. A couple of announcements. Just want to let everybody know applications are open for our fourth year of our flagship cohort program, Unwind with Unveiled. These opportunities at the executive level are not just waiting for it to happen. It really does take a sponsorship game. And this program, I can speak from experiences, really teaches you how to build that muscle and make it last. So please, please, please sign up. We'll have some information in the chat for you and links. And then also, we have entered into a strategic partnership and adding additional offerings to provide holistic support and building that sponsorship capital. So check out the Pivot Player Workshop. It's going to be on December 5th. Promise you do not want to miss that. So look for that communication coming as well and look out to sign up for that. So with that, I know we have a few people joining. I am so excited to start this conversation. Not only do our two founders look fabulous, but I think when you hear the stories and the journeys that they're going to share with us, you're really going to be inspired as well. So I'm going to start with some brief introductions, and then we're going to jump right into the conversation. So first, Eugina Jordan. She is the CEO and founder of YOUnified AI, which brings over 2 decades of experience in transforming ideas into market-shaping realities. She's a former award-winning CMO with over 24 patents across 5G, Open RAN, and AI. I mean, she is a game changer. So Eugina's journey from engineering to entrepreneur really reflects her lifelong mission, giving ordinary people extraordinary superpowers through technology. And if it was not just for one superpower female on the panel, we've got two. So Ioanna, so excited that she's joining. Also a founder and CEO of Dextego, an AI company really revolutionizing how modern teams build human-centered skills at scale. With a background spanning psychology, rhetoric, and strategic management, she is truly closing the gap between performance and potential, helping organizations cultivate empathy, adaptability, and trust in this AI world. And as all of our fireside chats, we are monitoring the chat. And what's most important are the questions you ask and the engagement that we have. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Sounds like a plan, ladies? Cool. All right. So first, this question is open for both of you, and I will start with you, Eugina. And I like to really understand, and I think it's important for everyone to really understand your stories. But I think with that, because your backgrounds are so unique, I'd love to know when did that idea that you had start to stop just being interesting, but really became a non-negotiable. So just tell us, how did you decide to build? What was happening in your life or in the market that really moved you from I'm curious to this is what I'm going to do in a conviction? And we'll start with you.
It's a fantastic question. I've been thinking about how to answer it, and I want to answer it with where you are today is not the end of your destination, and it's not who you are. So if you want to be a founder, you take a chance on yourself, you come up with an idea, and you build your company. So for me, I was a successful CMO in a nonprofit that was being run by part of Meta, big companies, and I felt that I was not alive. So, and I started assessing what I do best. And I've done two startups. One of them we took public. Then in another one, that's where I ideated my patents. And after doing that soul searching, I realized I don't want to be a marketing consultant, though I do it well. And I take some projects right now because I'm bootstrapping. I went down to my core and I said, okay, I want to build a company. Now let's do research.
Mm-hmm.
I started a new market category in telco. So I was looking at different industries where I could build, found out another niche, created plan, did research. Before I even started the company, I interviewed 200 potential clients.
Wow.
And then it helped me build my strategy, and the rest is history.
Wow. Well, a couple of things that I took from that is you plan to plan. You really did the research that was needed and the gumption to keep moving forward. I'll pose the same question to you, Ioanna. What was that taking from interesting to the non-negotiable that really gave you the conviction in your journey, starting your journey?
Absolutely. So prior to founding Dextego, I was working at another startup. I was their VP of People and Chief of Staff, and that startup was also in the AI sales world, but
Mm-hmm.
focused more on the lead gen. And I started talking to a lot of people internally, but also clients, because as a chief of staff in an early stage startup, you do a little bit of everything, right? So one day I'm CS, one day I'm sales, one day I'm
Yeah.
marketing. So I was all over and connecting the dots between, how we did training internally and what were the skills that were very critical in the field. I noticed that, 70% of the sales process has nothing to do with what you sell, but
Yeah.
all about the empathy and the soft skills, how you do active listening, how you connect the pain points of the buyer with your solutions, how you negotiate, how do you become a consultant, right? And I realized that most of the training was focused on how do you add a deal in pipeline, how you do your script, very basic
Mhm.
things that didn't translate to actually closed won deals. And I want to bring that human element in the training, but to do so, it has to be very personalized,
Yeah.
right? I realized that the online courses I was giving the team were not cutting it, they were not interested in doing it. Because as you know, the more we grow old, the less we want to be told what to do, and the more we want to learn by experience.
Yes.
And therefore, training has to be super embedded in your day to day goals and also schedule. And that it was the moment I'm like, okay, we need to change this, we need to do something about it. But I was still a little hesitant. And then I got my offer for a PhD program I had applied for in iOS,
Hmm.
because my background is also psychology, and I loved the part of understanding, why people do what we do and how to understand motivations. So it was kind of like a light bulb moment when I combined all of it, and I'm like, do I want to keep researching this for 5 years, or
Hmm.
do I want to build something that I
Mm.
can get to market and can have impact at scale? And obviously, I chose the second one. So here we are.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I'm going to go a little deeper on that because maybe you could tease this out for us. So, I mean, when you think about AI as a whole, in my world, I'm like, there's two camps. There's people who've gone head first, they really lean into it, and there's others that actually still are afraid. And I know when it comes to being an entrepreneur, you know, tell us about that one decision that you made that actually made you afraid but ultimately changed the trajectory of your company? And how did you bring your team along? Or more important, how did you activate yourself? So I'll start with you, Ion.
Yeah, so back then when we just started, the idea was soft skills coaching for young managers that don't have access to executive coaches. Because I truly thought that if we can empower, all managers across teams, then the future managers, the future leaders will all be more empathetic and have all these skills that we're talking about. So we were trying to sell to HR, but that was before the whole Gen AI and ChatGPT boom.
Yeah.
So to your point, they were very skeptical, very afraid, but fundamentally, they're not the right decision maker. They didn't have the budget, and they were also dealing with remote work during COVID. And I realized after also speaking to a lot of potential users and buyers that the pain point, like the acute pain point that someone would really pay for was within sales departments. So I had to say to myself, okay, if I'm in love with a solution of this problem, versus how it starts as a company, then I keep my mind open to reading the market. And I said we can focus on sales, but knowing that the bigger vision is to scale across the organization. So we basically decided to pivot and focus more our messaging and our targeting within sales teams. And now, 3 years later, where we're more established, we're back to adding, the HR use case and expanding across departments. So it was a strategic bet, because we had to change a lot of the messaging and strategy, but explaining it, with a data-driven approach to the team, and also proving that, hey, I've talked to enough people to get to that conclusion. It's not just me
Right.
waking up and saying, "Oh, I feel like we need to change the persona now." Everybody was aligned. But at the end of the day, no matter how big of a decision, you always take a risk in startups, and that's just part of the game.
Yeah, what I took away from that, calculated risk, like the
Yes.
intentionality to be say, yep, here's where I want to place that bet. And Eugenia, I'll take this over to you. What was that one scared decision that you made that impacted you, and how did you bring the team along?
Great question. And it's not one decision, it's a series of decisions.
Great point.
AI been around for a while, so
Mhm.
we're right now talking about with ChatGPT, we're talking about generative AI, but there's communications AI, there's predictive AI. So I've done that all in my telecom world, and there's a lot of innovations that we applied in telecom world. So when I started looking at a problem that I was going to fall in love with and build my solution, I realized the tools that enterprise are using, they're very disconnected. So, but it all again started in telecom because telecom does the same. And then I said, okay, let's pivot and let's look at the whole SME, small to medium sized enterprise, same issue. So I pivoted, had to bring the team along. We were looking at first early this year at two different verticals. We were looking at healthcare and finance, talking to leaders in those industries. We realized we're a little bit too early. And as a startup bootstrapping, I'm finding it myself, and I have a couple of angels. I need to come to a commercial product as soon as I can. So second pivot, we pivoted into different category, bringing the team along, explaining to them why this pivot is needed, because clarity is a gift, and explaining to them communication is a gift. I spend a lot of time with my engineers. I have a team in India and my founding engineers here in the US. I spend a lot of time understanding how they think and allowing them to understand how I think. So it's not just one pivot that is scary, but it's multiple pivots from different audiences to different product strategies to prioritizing features to allocating funding, to using, ChatGPT to help me review my patents and then saving money on lawyers, patent lawyers, and applying this funding towards development, software development, and thinking, Eugina, are you crazy? So, but it's all with USPTO now, and they will tell me in 18 months if I'm, crazy or not. So it's every single decision
Yeah.
is going to change the path of your company. And your destination still might be the same, but you might take a different route to it.
I love there's so many pearls within these two contexts that you get just shared, and a couple I will just reiterate for those listening in is number one, getting comfortable with taking calculated risk, the power in the pivot, and clarity is 100%. The gift of clarity is paramount. With that, and as you guys were sharing your stories and we've given some insights, a couple of things that just ran through my mind was not only there's one thing to be a senior executive, to be a female in this leader, but it's an additional to actually be the founder, the builder of the organization. And so you've had to use that power. Share with our audience, what does it mean and how have you learned to use your voice, whether it's in the boardroom, whether it's with investors, whether it's with team members? And Eugina, I'll start with you and we can go from there.
Thank you for that. So I'm 55 years old and I've seen it all. I've been in an industry in telecom where there's only 12% of women made it to the C-suite. So I've seen it all. And now people coming to me and say, oh, Eugina, you founder now. Do you know that only 2% of funding goes to female founders? So I always bring the receipts.
Mm.
And that's how I build my career. I always ask, okay, fine. How many patents you have on this? So always bring the receipts. I talk about my accomplishments with respect. I never put anyone down. And I always try to listen and understand. So it's knowing myself, know what I bring to the table, knowing my receipts, and being open to any type of feedback, and then being able to see where this feedback is coming from. Because clarity is a gift, but feedback is also a gift.
Mhm. Yes. And before we go to you, Ioanna, something you said, number one, we definitely need to know the moisturizer secrets because you look fantastic. But more importantly, what I love that you said was, yes, you have to know the receipts. Yes, you have to be able to explain, but you also have to know yourself and be true to yourself. And oftentimes that can be the grounding piece to keep you moving forward, even in that uncomfortable situation or explanation, but knowing yourself gives you that foundation to keep going with that. Ioanna, I'd love to give that same question to you. What have you done and how have you learned to use your voice without shrinking or standing feeling confident standing in your power?
Yeah, first of all, look, the truth is that it is extremely hard being a founder, whether you're a woman or a man, or you're an American, you're not. Like, it's so, so tough. So
Right.
that's, first of all, a personality thing. Like, you need to understand that no matter what, you'll face difficulties. Of course, the reality of the funding, what Eugina said is so true, and it can make you very angry to know the stats and the facts, but
Mhm.
is it helping you? I don't know. Like, it might create a lot of limiting beliefs.
Mhm.
So I think in my case, also being an international student when I was younger, like I always had, reasons to believe why I wouldn't achieve something. And I think you need to bring in that awareness and kind of empathy that um, it is something strange for someone to bet on you, no matter, like, even if you deviate just a little bit from the mean, and approaching it from that perspective. No, it doesn't matter what anybody thinks, it's your own personal journey. And it's all really doing the inner work. Like, if I believe in myself, I believe in my mission. Let's say I go into a pitch competition or speak to an investor, I give it my best, then the result can be whatever it wants to be. I will
Mhm.
sleep good at night that I did my best. And you need to also understand that a lot of times with these things, it's a numbers game. You
Mhm.
have to speak to a lot of people and expect that the no is part of the process, and it gets you closer to the yes. So for the first, I would say few months, that I started, the company, and I was so vulnerable because I had to put myself out there for feedback. I had to work with myself to accept it and separate the feedback from who I am. And a lot of times there was truth in negative feedback. What if they actually do want to see you succeed and some tough love is what's required? So now that's the perspective I have. And whatever makes you sleep at night, I go back to that. Like, if it's easier for you to deflect, okay, but the easiest is not what helps you grow, and growth is outside of our comfort zone. That's what I believe.
I love that. And if the coordinating thing that I see in both of those, like, yes, leading is hard. Being an entrepreneur is hard. The feedback is hard, but what you can control is your inner self,
It's the
your inner
only
growth.
thing,
And
only thing you can control.
and it's paramount, right? Like it's paramount. And it kind of leads me to my next statement. And maybe our next discussion, we'll dive a little bit in here. And when I found this, I was like, oh man, because I always have this thing that I'm in, in biotech world and we launch a lot. And I was like, do people actually, they know how to launch, but do they have the endurance to launch? And the quote goes, vision is glamorized, but stamina is underrated. And oftentimes as leaders and others, we think about the tangible work that we can do, but we don't focus on the work that we have to do for ourselves to be human ready, as I like to say. So let's start with the question, what are some of the things that you do daily, weekly, or types of leadership practices or practices that keep you clear, resilient, creative, so you can continue to cast that vision and be the best human, so you can be that best leader. And Eugene, I'll start with you and let's take it from there.
So you can work on the business or you can work in the business.
Mm,
You can work on yourself or you can work in yourself.
mm,
So, and if you don't know where you want to be as a human, as a leader, or where you want to take your company, that's about working on the business, working on yourself, being the best CEO that you can be, or working in the business. Yeah, I'm an IT person in my company as well. I am a patent lawyer. I create feature lists. I create product roadmaps. So I do all that, and every single morning I look at my calendar and I assess:
mm,
is it on the business, in the business? Am I improving myself as a leader? Or I'm just doing busy work?
mm,
And it helps because I have a big audacious goal. In 5 years, I'm going to be 60. And around that time frame, I want to take my company public. So leaders, CEOs, founders, we need also inspire our teams. My engineers, I always tell them, think about when you're developing the feature, how it's going to affect the customer and how it's going to take us forward. Are you building something that you will be with me in 6 years from now, ringing that bell?
mm.
And that's what differentiates leaders that work on themselves, believe in themselves, and don't. And the other thing is, I'm going to post it on TikTok tomorrow. It's going to be a series of pictures.
Mhm.
With age comes wisdom. And when you're younger, you run and then you get burnt out. You cannot build company if you're in bed and you're sick. So as an older founder, I've been burnt out multiple times and I paced myself. So I might get there a little bit slower, but I'll get there consistently. And as a leader, it's my responsibility as well that my team doesn't get burned out. If they're sick, they take sick days. And that's what makes us move forward faster and
Mhm.
more intentionally. Good leaders help and build good teams.
I love that. And before we transition, I want to go a little deeper into something that you said because it was ringing in my head, and I was like, I gotta get it the on the business or in the business. So, is there a balance, or does it just depend on where you are in that journey with your company, and how do you reflect into say, man, this week, this month, this quarter, I've really been on the business. Maybe I need to shift. What are some of the things that you look at to evaluate or to find balance?
Great question. It all depends on the goals and the milestones. So you set up your goals for the company, yourself, your milestones. And some of them, they might be, for example, like convert my LLC into a C Corp to get me ready for investment. So it's working in the business because you're going to either hire a lawyer or you're going to go to clerky and you're going to do this conversion. So it's all aligned to the your big goal and then your priorities and the milestones. Because if you're constantly working in the business, doing like a product roadmap or creating beta, materials, you're not going to move yourself forward. You need to find the point where you're going to delegate.
Yeah.
Because we're launching beta next week. Woohoo!
Congrats.
So now my founding engineer, who's very customer oriented, he's going to manage that. I'm going to come in at the points, checkpoints. So I'm moving from in the business to on the business because I'm going to start working on fundraising, re-engaging with investors I talked back in the spring, building my list and so on. So as long as you're moving forward and as long as you assess, that works. But it's all about moving your business forward, not being stuck.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification. And also I think one of the things I took away from what you said is having the vision and everyone knowing and understanding where the goals and then being able to be reflective on in or out of the business. And I don't want to dismiss as well what you talked about the health piece and taking the time because great leadership is knowing when to rest. So you have that endurance to move forward. So Ioanna, I'd love to pose the same question to you. What are some of those daily, weekly leadership practices that keep you clear, resilient, creative, and casting that vision forward and being mindful for yourself?
Yeah, so first of all, I believe resilience, I mean, important is not the word. It's like the key, because I've seen again and again, like very smart founders close companies because they got exhausted. Like you see people that you're like, oh, how come he's so successful? Well, he was the last man standing. He did it. He did
Yeah.
it. Like I am publishing a book end of year called The CEO Energy. I interviewed 16 different CEOs. They all talked about imposter syndrome and resilience as being the two important topics that came up for them um, in their entrepreneurial journey. And really, you cannot be resilient if you don't develop self-awareness, knowing what exhausts you, what brings you energy, what's your areas of genius. So at the end of each week, what I do is I tell myself, looking back, what is working because of me and what is working despite of me, and understanding if I'm allowing things to flow or if I'm blocking things in the business to know how to change the next week. Of course, that is possible because I've already done a yearly plan. Right? I
Yeah.
have an amazing executive coach who's helped me so much understand the importance of planning. Even if you think you don't have enough data points to make a plan, you do need to make strategic bets and make assumptions so you have some sort of, you know, like baseline to know, okay, did I achieve this? Did I not? Why? Let's rearrange, the channels and the resources. But in those days that are tough, I get resilience by tapping into our corporate identity. So we have a corporate identity, a mission, a vision, and core values, which are also my personal values, that we all have agreed on, and come back to it when we have to make a tough decision and say, okay, looking back, let's say we're in between two things, which one is more aligned with that corporate identity? And that fuels our energy and gets us back to being excited because we know why we started, right? A lot of founders that honestly don't make it at the end of the day never had that strong corporate identity. They just started to build something because it was cool to build something, or they saw a quick problem they needed to fix and it suddenly became a company, but their heart was not in there. I go back to what I said earlier, like you cannot be in love with a solution. You have to be in love with a problem. I think coaching is today a privilege and it should be a right. So we're changing that by democratizing access through AI coaching for every employee, team, company. But I have to be very open-minded, understand that the way we'll get there might change in 5 years, right? But as long as I'm still in love with that problem, I'll have resilience to get there and figure it out. And I think that reflects also what Eugina was saying earlier, because it's not about the risk taking, it's about figuring out which risks to not have to take.
Yeah.
And if you know your core values, you'll never have to face that.
Oh my, so many pearls there, so many pearls. And I just gotta go one deeper because one that is close to my heart, and it is the power of coaching. And you often hear the statistics, people are over mentored, under sponsored, but and then access to coaches. And you mentioned you have an executive coach, you are an executive leader who still has a coach piece. I always use LeBron James as my example of the best, longest player, still healthy in the game. But when you talk about the team and the coaching, in addition to his coach, the dietitian, all the different pieces that pour into that power of who he is so he can show up. Can you lean little bit more into your perspective of coaching and ways and why that you feel that access can be a catapult to success to so many people?
I mean, the best therapists have therapists. It's a thing, right? We all need someone who sees things from a third perspective, can hold us accountable, and has been there, done that, right? Like the executive coach I have sold his company to Uber, super successful guy. He doesn't have to work. He does it because he understands the importance of coaching others along the way, because he had the coach when he was
Yeah.
younger. It's like you said with mentorship and sponsorship. Unfortunately, no matter what people think, we're self-made. Nobody is. Everybody around you impacts you, and
Yeah.
everybody can be that one person that either helps you make it or destroys your life, which is
Yeah.
why, again, self-awareness. You need to know who you surround yourself with, who you hire. It truly takes one person to destroy the team morale. So I take it very seriously, and um, you also need to know how you operate best. For instance, my sister loves going to the gym. This girl can go like every day, no problem. Me, unless I have a coach waiting for me there, I'm
Not
telling you, I'm
happening.
not gonna make it. So I know I operate best when I feel like I'm wasting someone else's time unless I show up, right? So maybe there's a portion of the world that doesn't need a coach, but the most successful people I've met always have one, and they help, with what's called sense making.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're so focused in the business, you've seen that pitch deck a million times, you have everybody complaining, all the problems are coming to you, you're like, I can't see the next step. But for someone else who doesn't have all these emotions that you're feeling in the moment, they're like, the answer is right there.
There. Just be the
Just,
guide. Yep.
yeah, just be the guy. And someone you trust, of course, right? And you know that they have your best interest at heart. And then things become a little easier.
It really, really does. Oh, you just got me happy. So I know a couple other questions, and I definitely want to turn to the audience. If you have questions, please start to put those in the chat. But one of the things I do believe that readers are leaders and leaders are readers. So, Ioanna, you mentioned your book, Eugene. I'll give this one to you. What is your favorite book that are a game-changing book that you have read or are writing that has really had an impact with you? Yeah.
It's Joe Dispenza, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, because it helps you look inside yourself, find a quiet place, and be honest with yourself. What's holding you back, where you want to be, and how you're going to get there. Because I don't believe that, I believe that the only people who can limit us is ourselves.
Yeah.
So I didn't know I was not supposed to be an executive in telecom. I saw other people were executives in telecom. I'm like, what? Not me. I didn't know that you're not supposed to start your own startup in the 50s. That's when I was ready. Maybe I'm a late bloomer. So it's realizing what's important to you and how you're going to get there. And then it's like quantum mechanics, quantum engineering. What you want, you're going to attract. You're going to attract by bringing the right people, by bringing the right resources, by learning, by building the right product, by talking to your customers. So that is the book that is on my nightstand. I open it up, there is a meditation there, or you can go on YouTube and listen to that meditation. And that's what keeps me going. And the other thing, I have one amazing advisor. Majority of my advisors, they're Gen Xers like me, but I have one super smart millennial. And almost every single morning she puts in my WhatsApp, it's going to be an amazing day.
Mm.
And that's, it's part of, that book. It's part of the mindset. And I believe it's going to be an amazing day. I'm building the next Google, because when Google was being built, they didn't know they were going to build Google. It was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
So my company is going to be the next Google. And that's what the team believes, that what my advisors believe. And I'm hoping that my customers will believe in the same thing as well.
Love it. And Ioanna, I know you mentioned a book that will be releasing soon. Could you share us a little bit more information about that, or any other book that has been really inspirational to you?
Yeah, I mean, my book, the CEO Energy, is really aiming to give diverse perspectives on what a CEO is. They're all from very much different backgrounds, age groups, ethnicities, and the point is being a CEO is a choice. No one is, born a CEO. You get to develop these skills as you go, and it's really about understanding, where the opportunities lie, grabbing them, aligning people on that common goal, like Eugina is saying with her team, and being relentless in the pursuit of the goal. In terms of things that I read a lot about also psychology and neuroscience. And actually, one thing I read recently that's connected to the discussion that I want to share has to do with dopamine. Because I see so many people, right? Like we get an idea, and then let's say you want to start a business. It sounds like an amazing idea in the moment, and then 2 hours later, you think about it, you're like, now it doesn't feel such a great idea. It's not that the idea itself has reduced in value, it's just your mind is not releasing dopamine unless you really act on it the second the idea comes to mind. So let's say right now, back to the gym example, I'm all hyped up. I'm like, yeah, let's go. I want to lift weights. 3 hours later, think about it, it never happens. But if the moment I think about I do step out of the house, then that dopamine is maintained, and then I connect it with a successful mission, right? And then I can repeat that. But we need to train our minds, and a way to get back to that dopamine the moment it's lost is recreating the environment to resemble the moment you did have that idea in the first place. And I truly believe that learning psychology, neuroscience has been a gift because
Mhm.
it helps you explain a lot of things, both for yourself and others. And I don't have like a specific book to recommend at this stage, but I listen mostly to podcasts
Yeah.
like Huberman Labs and all this. Like I geek out to a lot of things. Jay Shetty, The Diary of a CEO, all these big famous ones um, inspire me a lot because, these are all people like us that they had a dream and they made it happen. And seeing people actively, overcoming their fears and any obstacles and making it makes you also feel like, hey, I can do that.
I
And we need
love
that
that.
inspiration.
We do. We do. And two things that kind of made me think on both of what you guys shared is for me, like during the workday, if I'm like I call it my 2 o'clock slow down. I either want some candy or I need a nap. But what I have started doing is taking what I call a thinking walk. It gets me outside, and I always start to generate great ideas when I move and go outside. And I've started to do that. And the other thing that I incorporated with that as well is, and I think you mentioned it, when you have these ideas, the power of now. Taking a
Mm,
massive action. Like if I say, oh, I should, I don't know, start a podcast, immediately write down a name, immediately do something that takes an action to keep that feeling going. So I call it the power of now. I'm sure there's probably another word for it, but it's moving on those ideas that happen immediately to go. So we have got some great questions in the chat. I want to make sure we can engage with them. So I'm going to read these out, ladies, and feel free to jump in. We'll make sure we try to get to everyone's question. And then for those who are still on the line, please feel free to raise your hand as well or use the chat. And we'll go from there. So the first question is, how do you approach relationship building to support fundraising, i.e., building your business and your teams
I don't know if the question is only for fundraising, though. It looks like it's in general for building
and
your
your
business.
teams? Yeah, your
Yeah.
business and your teams. Yes.
Eugenia, you want to go? Okay. Um, well, yeah, everything is relationships. Like, I feel like, I've always been a good networker, but what I had to learn is to also close. What do I mean
Mm,
with this? You can, as a founder, have FOMO and be in every event and waste your time going to all the mixers and meeting investors, but never move the needle. And, I had to learn how to qualify people and how to separate networking for fun to networking for business. And really it's about understanding the power of maintaining the relationship. It's very easy
mhm,
to get a conversation going. I can reach out on whoever on LinkedIn and have an ask like join our podcast or whatever, and they will say yes. But how do I make it a habit to reach back out to 5, 10 people a week that I had these deep conversations and maintain them and check in on them, and when the time comes and I have an ask, I can go to them and be comfortable with them because I really have built that true connection.
right.
And for me, it's the same with the team. Like I get to know everybody very deeply. Like I know like their families by names, I know what they care about, what they're interested in, what they do for fun. They know what I do for fun. Um, it's truly going deeper than the superficial. Where do you work? How did you get that job? And what's your KPI? And like before this, I was speaking to VP of sales at Yelp,
Mhm,
and we were both part of a list. We got an award, and we were talking about deep stuff, like the sponsors he had and how she had to overcome being an Asian woman in leadership and like opening up and truly understanding what motivates people. It's the
mhm,
same thing for investors. Of course, all investors care about money. Yeah, okay, but there is more into it, like what
yeah.
technologies inspire them, how they see the market, where they see the gaps, what type of strategies they believe in for growth. Like I think the best way to build relationship is ask good quality questions
Yes.
not talk about the freaking weather and where they're from. And to do that, you need to care. And to care, you need to do your research and really be prepared to have these conversations. That's kind of how I approach it. I spend like 10 minutes just looking online for information, finding something that interests me and sparks some questions, and I start from there.
Yeah. Asking great questions. And asking great questions means you have to care and do your homework. Because everybody can look up and see what the weather is. Pretty easy one. The other question here is you both mentioned coaching. That's helpful to hear. What are some of the routines that you've either in your daily life or with your teams that really help you keep driving forward towards your goals?
Sure, I'm gonna build on what Ioanna was saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's asking the questions, but it's also listening to answers and listening not to reply, but listening to understand. And there are different ways we can connect with investors because right now I have 100 potential investors for my round. If I even took, 10-minute meeting in 1 week, it's just too much. So I have a newsletter for investors and regular newsletter. I'm connected with them on LinkedIn, TikTok. I always see, who likes my posts and whatnot. And I'm like, oh, this person read this post. And I always, like and read their posts.
Mm-hmm.
Because in this digital world, there is so many opportunities to learn about those people and it's wonderful. So next time I meet with them, I can mention their post and they can mention my post, and it's another level of connection. So it's listening and being open, like Ioanna was saying, to learn about another person, investor, team member, as a human, see them as a human, understand them as humans. And that's where the power of coaching comes in, because as a supervisor, manager, company CEO, everyone is working under me. So I need to make sure that people are heard, and we coach people if they're speaking over one another in meetings, and also we truly listen.
Yeah.
And then we enable our managers to coach other people, because as a CEO, I cannot coach everyone. So it's managers' responsibility to coach and see the best
Mm-hmm.
in their people. There's a book called, I'm going to butcher the title a little bit, but it's the book about the multipliers and diminishers.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be a multiplier. I want to be an intentional multiplier. I want to multiply leaders, because everyone wants to do interesting work and everyone wants to be heard.
Mm.
And that's the best, coaching advice I can give to myself, because sometimes I have to sit on my hands literally, so I don't speak the first one in meetings,
Mm-hmm.
that I allow my team to speak first, listen, understand, and then contribute.
Wow.
Can
Oh
I
my
add
goodness.
something
Yes,
to
please.
this? I think it's also about creating a safe environment for people to fail, because
Mm.
a lot of times people are afraid to speak, to take accountability. Even if you give them the space, you need to really prove to them that it's safe to fail, and that starts with you. Like if I come up with 3 ideas and I'm like, okay, I could choose one and say that's the path, but if I opened up, and I say, hey, I'm not so sure that that's the right thing, but let's talk about it. Now, when someone has an idea, they can feel safe that they can present it, even if they're not so sure. And it's really about leading by example, but also in terms of the question with the routines, and I'm looking at it right now. I always have our management board open on monday.com where we have all the goals, and then every month and then every week we do a check-in and we say per item, are we on track, on target, below target, above target, questionable, and it's all color coded, to quickly go and say, okay, if I have half an hour today, where should I focus my energy on the red item. Let me go and see what happened last month. How can I fix it? So it's truly about being disciplined, I think, with the goals, because when you're in an early stage startup that eh, you speak to so many people and everyone has so many opinions, the easiest thing to do is deviate from the goals.
Right.
Because someone comes and like, no, that should be your goal. That's a better path. That's, again, is this actually what I think and my team thinks? Is this our core value? Is it our goal? If it's not on the board, I'll filter it, I'll think about it, but I should probably not prioritize it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can't believe we're coming to the top of the hour. This has been a great conversation. And I think the one thing I'll ask one last question that we could leave the audience with, not just to ponder on, but really for them to take action. So I'll start with you, Eugenia, I'm sure there's someone in the audience right now that is sitting on a fantastic idea, but is afraid to move. What's that one uncomfortable move that they should make in the next 30 days to truly turn their vision into a venture?
Two moves.
Two moves.
Number one, you go tell someone you trust and it's a
Mm,
safe person about your idea and get their feedback and share your fears. For example, for me, and we struggled a lot with money and food and whatnot. So for me, going full time as a founder, all those fears came to mind, how we're going to support ourselves. And because I'm bootstrapping the company, we're living off our savings. So, and I talked to my husband about it, how we're going to survive. God bless my husband because he made the budget, he made the plan, we figured it all out. So talk about your fears to one person that you trust because those fears, they could be overcome. And number two, go to ChatGPT or any AI tool of your choice and talk to ChatGPT about your idea and ask it to review from different perspectives as an
mm,
investor, as a technologist, and have an honest conversation because it will make you look at it from different perspectives. Is there market fit? Is there a problem that's worth solving? Are there any competitors in that space? And those two steps can help you start building it. You don't have to leave your job right away. If you want to build something, the only person who can prevent you from building is you. So if you want to
mhm.
build something, who is stopping you? What's stopping you?
I love that. I love that. Number one, tell a human. Number two, use AI to get the perspective to be able to take action. Ioanna, I'll turn that question to you. What is the one step to take for our vision to venture in the next 30 days?
I think it's to understand that time is never perfect.
Mm,
If you're waiting for time to be perfect, you'll wait all your life. And at the end of the day, we only regret the things we don't do, right? So it can be total failure. So what? Like, it's freaking amazing, right? That teaches you a lot about yourself, and you're gonna work on something you're passionate about. And if you see, the big picture of, okay, like 9 out of 10 startups fail, and you start knowing that, okay, it'll be extremely hard, but
yeah,
think about the other perspective. What if you're that 1%?
that,
That's gonna be amazing. And think about how many people you'll motivate and inspire. Like, it really is worth taking the chance. So of course, do your homework and the preparation, but don't feel like you have to have all the answers to start, because as you are continuing on that journey, you're collecting more data, you're creating a team, you're going to become more mature, you're going to know much more to keep going. And that's the biggest mistake we make as humans, is we judge our future success with our current knowledge. How can that
mm,
happen? Are you the
yeah,
same person you were 10 years ago? I mean, if you were, if you are, there's a problem, but I'm sure you're not. So that's the same thing, projecting it in the future and feeling confident in yourself that you will figure it out. So literally just start, get a domain, come up with a name. Back to what I said with the dopamine, you have to do it now, the moment you get the idea. Like I do abstract art for fun. If now I'll feel creative, I know I have to pay now because my creativity will be gone in 3 hours. So
Yeah.
I just believe in that it's worth taking the risk, or else life would be very boring.
I love it. Take the risk and start now. Well, we have come to the end of our fireside chat, but I know we have not come to the end of hearing more from you ladies. This has been a fabulous, fabulous discussion. I've learned a lot. I am motivated, and I'm going to go do something right now.
Go, just go.
Just go. All right. Enjoy your
Thank you all.
weekend. Thank you so much, and we'll chat again soon. Bye bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.